This video is going to show you a solo Grandmaster Nightfall getting platinum rank on the Warlock bottom tree DAWNBLADE with the exotic rocket launcher, the two-tailed fox. In terms of weapon loadout, as I said, we're using the exotic rocket launcher, which is void / solar in its elements that it does, which I'll get into. I'm also using an arc bow with shooter loot on it and frenzy, and then a osmosis pulse rifle in our connect slot. So we're going double primary heavy just to see how this loadout is. With my setup, you saw the intro, I had the wrong scavenger mod on just because I forgot to change it, because we've been running fusion rifles for like all of the season, so you never really take it off. And obviously I haven't got a fusion rifle in my setup, so I've just forgot to change it, right? So don't look into that and think, what are you doing? Well, no, I've just forgot to change it, simple as that. With this starting section, it's pretty easy because we've opted for an arc bow, so we can take the phalanxes, no problem. Use our nade for the silence, things like that. And what we can do now is bait the first unstoppable over here, which is ideally what you want to do. It's a safer way of doing it. So we can see what two-tailed fox is like for its performance on GMs, and it's good. It's not too bad, right? It shoots one void rocket, one solar, so it's double rocket, even though it's just one. In terms of ammo, it's just one, but it's 2 rockets per one, right? The interesting thing about this rocket is that it synergizes with Attunement of Flame and Dawn Chorus, because Dawn Chorus has a lot of effects to DAWNBLADE, and one of them is improved burn effects. The two-tailed fox has a rocket that does burn damage. This synergizes with the helmet, so it procs the perk, in other words, right? So that's really good that way. Not only that, because it shoots 2 rockets, I know it states it's a void, primarily a void rocket, it will take down a solar match game shield. It is both solar and void. It's like the fusion rifle from D1. The I don't even know the name of it. I can't even remember, but it was a dual wield and burn fusion that you could swap between arc and solar. I can't mind the name of it. It's the same thing as that, really. You're just not switching the burn. It's just that it's void and solar when you shoots. So we're doing the same strat for this with the Blights back to front. Okay, if you take the first Blight, you're going to get a lot of overload champs. I'm sure you're aware of this because you'll see in a lot of Lake of Shadow GMs. So obviously we're going to do that. We're going to try and save time that way and just kill the unstoppables. So this can be slow on this loadout. I mean, obviously I have done a two-tailed fox GM. I think I have in the past. I can't remember. I'm sure I have. And it performs pretty well. Like you just saw, per damage per shot, it's okay, but it really should. Rockets, I don't know. They should go to 2 in the mag, I think, base, and then add tripod and things like that. But we'll see what Galahorn ships with. Is he going to ship with 1 or 2 in the mag? We'll see. You know, but I guess it's just the nature of what rockets are in D2. They're really good. Rockets are really strong, especially a explosive light one, like Hothead, or the seasonal ritual one from this season, which is really good. When we stun this champion here, we're going to melee him first. Notice I've done that. So why did I melee the champ then super? Well, because your melee is tied, the solar melee ability is tied to the burn damage for the Dawn Chorus. Right, it stacks. When you pop your super, if you pop your super on a target that isn't burning, you will start from 0 stack, and then it'll go up from there. And it'll have maximum stacks on the last 3 swipes that you do with your super. However, if you melee your target first, then pop your super, you get maximum stacks from the first swing of your flaming sword. So you do max damage that way. You lose a little time because you've got to melee that target. Like on Unstoppable, you're going to lose a bit of time, but if you can do it, do it. So that's what I've done with that. Now the champ is hitting me, as you saw, and I'm surviving on GM. Well, how am I doing that? If you look to the left hand side, I didn't even have protective light there, and I was saved. Right, I survived. The reason why he's not one-shotting me is because of the concussive dampener. So resistance mods, I ran solar damage resistance, concussive dampener on the chest plate with the tier 4 resilience. This is the sweet spot for this GM. I mean, I've discussed this various times, but various GMs have sweet spots for resilience. You don't really want to be using more resilience than what you need. For example, let's take a 100% tier resilience Titan and compare that to a tier 4 resilience Hunter. Is there a huge difference between the two? No. You're going to still be able to survive what you can survive on that Hunter, that tier 4 resilience Hunter, as opposed to a tier 100 Titan. Okay, you're still going to sort of survive very similar things like a sniper shot. Both classes will survive the sniper shot, whether you're 100 or tier 4. But if you're tier 3, that's the difference. So knowing the difference between the tiers, like, okay, so if I run one more tier, I can survive at least one. It saves me from being one shot off a sniper. And if that's the case, then that gives you a chance, a fighting chance to just not be one shot. Because there's nothing worse. Like, I mean, when I say one shot, I mean 100% HP to 1. Like one shot. Whereas if it gets you in the red, you have time to strafe out of the next shot and you survive. Protective light is another reason why it's so good. This champion here was pushing me more than I expected, because what I'd done here is I took down one of the Blights. You can take down the second Blight, then the third Blight, and then the first. So 2, 3, 1. You can do it like that. Or you can do it 3, 2, 1. But just don't take the first Blight first. Now the reason why I've done that is because you have more real estate when you do that, because these two unstoppables can push down here. There's no taken stuff. There was some taken stuff up that hill. All that stuff disappears around the Blight. Okay, gives you more room to move essentially, so you can take them from different angles. It wasn't ideal though, because both unstoppables pushed me, which I didn't like. It reduces my DPS overall. I can't focus on one, I have to focus on both. I have to get a stun on the other and try and separate them up a little bit. So it wasn't ideal, but you can still see how I'm managing the champs. Not too bad. We're trying to get this champion finishable, which he nearly is. And then we're good. Now, as I said, I had the wrong scavenger mod on. That cost me. You'll see throughout the run when I'm only getting 1 shot per brick or 2 shots per brick, where I could be getting 3 shots per brick. 3 shots for a full brick, 2 shots for an ammo finder brick. So it's a big difference for rocket launchers. It really hinders them because their ammo reserves is low. So the scavenger really hindered this run by not doing that. But I'm not going to redo the run. This was literally my first run with this loadout. So I'll just post it up, that's fine, so you can just see the run, what it's like, how it's, it's not the best run, but it's an interesting run with the synergy with Two-Tailed Fox and the Dawn Chorus. And not only that, it's incentivizing people to play Dawnblade. Like, start to maybe get off your Voidwalker. There's a lot of PvE mains that just sort of, like, PvE Voidwalker, that is my main, and that's it, Controversial. And they've been playing it for like 2 years. It's like, okay, start to play something else. Like, I've played Dawnblade for years, but it's in its best spot it's ever been. The fact that it's got a unique exotic like Dawn Chorus to give it a flat damage buff to your super, give you a burn effects for your grenade and your melee ability, and they've buffed this class this season by giving it chain damage to the burn effect. So it's sort of like what Fawn is, but a solar variant of that, or like a sunshot but via your burn effects. It does immense damage even on Grandmaster difficulty. You can see the ag clear. One nade can literally stop Silence from duplicating, because they'll duplicate. That burn damage will linger onto the duplicated copy, and so on and so forth, and you just keep getting a chain reaction. And like I said, one nade can do so much work. So it's a really good class to play. And it's got Phoenix Dive. Phoenix Dive is an ability, and a lot of people don't even know that this ability exists. They don't know that it exists. There's a couple of people ask me, what does Phoenix Dive, what does that even mean? It's a perk tied to Dawnblade bottom tree. You just read it. It says you can activate your Phoenix Dive ability while mid-air, like so. So you jump up in the air and you use your class ability button on your platform. So if it's circle for PlayStation, then it's circle. If it's whatever it is on Xbox, then press that. But you've got to be in the mid-air to do it. It won't just, you can't do it unless you're in air, because obviously if you activate your class ability, it's going to be your healing rift. But your healing rift won't be consumed if you do Phoenix Dive, because they're two separate. Even though it's the same button, they're two separate abilities. So that's really good that way. We're taking this arc major from this left hand side, it's really good to do that because it means the Overlord champions can't see us. The Scions can, the major can, but that's fine. We can strafe. You can notice I'm strafing all these shots. If he does a blight, you must shoot the blight down, the tracking orb, because it will break your shields. And without concussive dampener, it's a one shot. So be careful of that. So always shoot a blight down, a track and blight. You must do it. Now with the 2 Overlord champions, so we come to this box and we'll just strafe shoot them. Learn the strafe shoot of the bow. This season's a really long one, so if you still haven't mastered the art of bows, then this is the season to do it. Okay, bows are insanely strong in PvE, and they have been for a long time. They are hand cannons and scouts got buffed, so we don't know the full extent on how good that is, because there's no mods up to accompany that for PvE. Right, obviously I could go in with a scout and some GMs and sacrifice a weapon slot and maybe run an Unstoppable Fusion, Overlord Bow, whatever it is, and then run a scout. You could do that, but what's the point? But when it comes anti-barrier scout or Overlord scout or Unstoppable scout, whatever they do, we're going to see the full effect of that change. And scouts could end up being the best weapon. Right now, bows are. Right, bows are the best PvE weapon to deal with champs and things like that. And just the overall nature of them. Okay, the strafe with a bow, it's something that you can't get with an auto rifle, because an auto rifle is a sustained weapon. What does that mean? Well, it means you need to be out longer to get your damage. All my damage is done by cover. I go cover. It confuses the snipers. The snipers can't hit you because the sniper will go through its animation of charging up his shot, decharging, charging up the shot, decharging. So the champ is confused ultimately because he can't snipe you, because every time he charges it up, you're in cover, and then you're getting your damage done. Like while that champ can't see you. An auto rifle, you can't do that. That's what made Proving Ground so difficult, because you've got to sustain fire those barrier champs. You can strafe here and there with the auto, but not like what you can with a bow, which we have had anti-barrier bow before. People will forget that, but we've actually had it. So you can strafe shoot with the Ariana's Vow, because that's a hand cannon, right? You can do that, but with auto rifles, not so much. Even scouts, to a certain extent, you've got to do a couple of shots then strafe, as opposed to just one shot each time. So this is where the Two-Tailed Fox comes in. Now I've just saw something I've never noticed. If you just replay that 10 seconds back, you'll see the burn on Two-Tailed Fox change from void to solar. Now I knew that it done that, but they've added that. I've never saw that the symbol changed to solar. Just check again, see that? So now my Two-Tailed Fox says it's solar. Now it's switched to void. So did you see that? So that's just showing you the dual capabilities of this rocket, and it's really good. It reminds me a little bit of Deathbringer, a little bit, because it's an exotic rocket launcher, and Deathbringer's void as well. But I think it's better than Deathbringer. Deathbringer's just too awkward to use, especially on champs and things. In team it's different, but solo wise it's a bit novelty, right? You know, I just want to shoot a target. I don't want to start, you know, shooting in mid-air, charging my shot. It's a high skill weapon, that is Deathbringer, right? I'm not saying it's bad, it's actually decent, but it's a bit niche. It's a bit too niche. You know, Two-Tailed Fox, you can just grab it out of collections, infuse it, and use it like any other rocket launcher. It's got really good, you know, aspects to it for match game shields. Has really good burst damage, but as I said, it suffers from the one mag. If it's just 2 mag weapon, you look at this weapon's completely different. Just think of the Royal Entry weapon I use. The Royal Entry rocket that I use is Field Prep Clown Cartridge. Now why is that so good? Well, because I can double rocket a champ. Do you know how good double rocket a champ feels? It's a very good feeling. And I just wish Two-Tailed Fox kind of had. I know it has 2 rockets, right, for the one, but I wish you'd be essentially shooting 4 rockets. It'd be interesting. And that's what they should give it as a catalyst. Increase it. So all I need to do with the catalyst, just make it so that it goes from 1 mag to 2 mag. That's all I want from the catalyst, and that would make it get so much more use than what it is right now. Okay. But Galahorn's going to be relaunching, so it's going to be at the back foot already. It's got to compete with Galahorn next month, and they're going to ship Galahorn super strong. And I kind of want them to just do it. Okay. launch it super strong and just celebrate like one of the best weapons made, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are saying they don't want him to ship it too strong, but listen, it's the nature of Destiny. It's what we've went through. We've went through cycles of weapons being strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak, and it is used as a bit of a marketing tool to get you used to buy the expansion. But at the end of the day, it reminds you of an older time of when exotic weapons were a bit more exotic, especially in Destiny 1 days. Not in terms of what they do, but more in terms of their rarity. And it gives you, it gives you a memory of like when you used to just do Nightfalls and Vault of Glass raids or Crota to get your Galahorn. It wasn't, I'm going to do public events to see if I can get a shot at an exotic. It was more, right, I've got to do my Nightfall and raids, unless I'm not getting an exotic this week. That's what it was more of. So it reminds you of those days. So ship it super strong. I don't, you know, for me, that's my opinion on it. These unstoppables we take slowly, as you see. We obviously, when you're going to creep round this corner is really harsh because there's a sniper, 2 orange bar phalanxes, a load of silence. You can get one shot from all that. So when you peek round, just peek it so you can see the angle of the champ, and always have your whatever unstoppable weapon you're using. If it's unstoppable linear, more than likely than the pulse, then just make sure you've aim down sights on your weapon so that your unstoppable shot is activated. Because if you go around there and it's not procced, you've got to wait that time. He could bash you into the wall by the time you've waited for an unstoppable shot to proc. So little things like that, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is once you mess up. Because as you saw, I've been hit by these champions a couple times. I've survived it, but my shields are broke. If they hit me a little bit more, then I'm dead, even with protective light. So now that the unstoppables are killed for this outside area, the dam area, if you like, we can then work on the sniper. You just saw me, I killed the sniper. The sniper, do it in this order and you won't go wrong. Sniper, then the 2 orange bar phalanxes, then the scions in front of you, not to your left, the ones in front of you. Take those out because this will make it easier when you go over there later, because you're going to have to take those out anyways. And then there's some scions to your left. Take it out in this order, it makes it easier. Say for example you start dealing with the phalanx before the sniper will snipe you, the phalanxes could then kill you, stuff like that. So take it out in the best order. Go from the highest threat to the lowest. So the scions are the lowest threat because we're not exposed by them. The phalanxes are the next thing because they do sort of hit you a little bit from there, but not so much. And the sniper obviously is the most dangerous threat, so you take it out first. So you're methodical about the way you go about it, and you should be doing this with when you want to solo a Grandmaster, specifically a Grandmaster, even dungeon content, to be honest. Take things out methodically, right? If you're not a speedrunner, right, then that's fine. That just if you're not, you know, uploading runs to DestinySpeedrun.com, which or speedrun.com, then you're not going to play like that where you're playing for time and things like that. You're actually just playing for yourself to improve as a solo player and to get some loot, to farm hothead, farm any Nightfall weapons you need to do. So you're not looking to go for the fastest time on it, you're looking to go for the to make your life as easy as possible and to be smart. You don't want to be like, you know, making it harder than what it needs to be. Like, there's no point. Take pride in knowing I've mastered a GM. If you've mastered glassware, take pride in that. Like, if you're doing things to make your life a little bit easier here, there and everywhere, then take pride in that. Any GM that you're doing. Don't say, oh well, you use this weapon, you know, I want you to do it like this. You know, it's like, well, let someone take pride in that they've mastered that GM. Don't start putting them down and say, well, I done it with blue weapons, you didn't. So don't compete with people that way. Compete with yourself. This is where people get confused with. Upload your own runs if you're looking to get into that. Upload your own runs to YouTube. Right? You might not get loads of views when you first start, but you can rewatch that video over. This is how I started. Rewatch it and be honest with yourself. Is this good? And if you're like, well, this is like 50% as good as I could do, right then, it's no good. You need to keep going and practicing and then just rewatch all your runs, all your successful runs, and all your failures as well. If you see a failure, clip it. You're doing a run and you have something happen to you and you're like, that's just, is that my fault or is it the game's fault? sometimes it is the game's fault in Grandmasters because there's some stuff that goes on that maybe shouldn't at times. Okay, but there's sometimes people are just out of position and they're dying, and it's like, well, I'm so disappointed. It's like sometimes it's their fault. Sometimes if I die in a run, it's my fault, not the game. Don't always be I blame the game all the time. So that's the tip on that. We're still on this outside section. Make sure you take out all the snipers. If you saw there was 3 snipers, I took out 2 of them. One of them was hiding. Now that sniper de-aggroed, so I couldn't get him because he was behind the box where the Solar Knight is. So once I pushed the silence, that sniper aggroed on me behind my back and nearly got me. That could have been a wipe there. So I was lucky. But I was wanting to, as I say, take out the silence below, which they keep duplicating. I used a rocket for that. And you saw the burn effect happening. The additional white numbers I'm getting, that's burn damage. And you can actually see the ad burning. You'll see more examples of this as I go on. I use a rocket for the Solar Knight at the back of the map, and then a super. The Dawnblade will track because we're on bottom tree, right, not top. So the flames will seek out that target, and there's no other targets. Now, this is where that could be a disaster. If you left the Overlord champion up on that bridge, then used your super for the Knight, you may not hit the Knight and you may hit the Overlord, and then he'll be enraged. You don't want to do that, you'll screw it up. So make sure you take out all Overlords, all targets. Leave the Knight till last. These champions to the left, they weren't in your visibility when you're up on that perch. So the super isn't going to track those. So you're fine that way. These 2 targets are the last thing you do. So what you want to do is stun the Overlord champion, jump over the Unstoppable. That is so safe if you just do it like that. Like if you don't stun the Overlord, he will kill you. So you stun the Overlord, don't need to stun the Unstoppable because he's predictable. He's going to try and shield bash you. You're going to just jump over that. So just a run, jump right over, avoid the boot wall to my right, and then this is where you do DPS from, on the champs. It's just doing that little optimization makes it a hell of a lot easier. Because over the other side, you'll find that your point of view on these champs is limited. So the Unstoppable's fine, because that whatever HP you do that you've invested to take the time with that Unstoppable, you have that. He won't regen. The Overlord will. So you can get the Overlord down to 10, 5% HP, and then he retreats behind that wall, and you've just wasted like 30 seconds of your time doing that. And it might happen again and again. Whereas if you stand here, that's less likely to happen. Makes it way easier. So we'll deal with the Unstoppable first. Just know that when you're nading the Unstoppable and things like that, if you're doing splash damage and you're using your rocket, the Overlord will enrage. Because the Overlord is out of our view, but he's taking splash damage, so you can see he's enraging. That's why we're behind this box. We're popping hail rifts as well, just in case we do get hit quite a lot, but we didn't. Because again, it's because how good of this location is. Now we'll wait for the Overlord. I was going to push to the cover in front of me, but he ends up pushing, so that's good. And now we can just strafe shoot this champ. Try to aggro, then de-aggro the champ. So with Overlords, you need to know how to de-aggro and aggro them in quick succession. Especially if a champ's going to go around a corner that you don't want him to then for him to regen. So what I'm doing here is, as I said, I'm listening to that charge up shot of that champ. He's charging his gun, he's uncharging. Whereas if, say I'm a little bit slower with my bow, he might just go all the way to the back, around that corner, and I have to start again. So just bow, if you're good at PvP, right, then you've got that down, because that's what in PvP a lot of people do, just strafe shoot. That's all you're doing. Well, obviously this is different in PvE because there's a pattern to it. PvP there isn't, because you're playing against players, human beings, not an AI. With this area, you want to throw a nade to your left, try and get some damage in on the goblins, because this bit's difficult because the Solar Knight on the bridge will attack you. The Unstoppable will be immune because of the goblins. So those are the 2 things that can be hard work about it. There's things that you can do to combat that by baiting the Unstoppable here, which my timing was off with that. So that was bad, but again, conclusive dampness saves us, which is why we're running it. We missed our opportunity. So what do we do when we do that? Well, we wait for our health to 100% and then we reset. We go out there, we use a nade on those goblins again because they're still up. My first initial nade wasn't very good, so the game's punishing me for that, which that's fine. My nade wasn't good, so I have to live with that and then go again with nades. Once most of the goblins are down though, you then got license to sort of move and start doing some damage to this champ. If you do your damage, if you're going to use a run like this with the two-tailed fox, then one stun will get you around a third HP. So it's like you're using probably 3 rockets per champ. If you're going to do that much damage, what I do is I do it in cycles. So it just depends on how I feel and what my ammo drops are. Sometimes I might just stun him with my pulse and do some damage with the pulse and a grenade and stuff like that. So you know, you're not one cycling champs with this loadout. That's something that it's not so good at. It's good for the Solar Knights, which you'll see. It's not too bad that way. And Dawnblade has some unique traits, okay, that I haven't really discussed about, which I'm going to get to when we get to the farm boss. So I mean, I am sort of recommending the loadout. There's a lot of good things about the loadout. Dawnblade, Dawn Chorus. The bow's really good because it's got shoot to loot on it and it's frenzied. That's all good. Two-tailed fox it's pretty much it is decent, but there is better choices. I would say even Anarchy would have worked better, even though it got nerfed. Anarchy would have actually even been a better choice because it's really good on champs, and for the most part, that's what you're killing in this. It's not so much the boss. Boss isn't, you know, so difficult. It's mainly just champs and Solar Knights. Jatun is a really good one. I've done it with Jatun. I've done it with Queenbreaker Bow. That was really good. That was exceptional. Devil's Ruin. Devil's Ruin worked out really good. Not so much for the boss, but it was really good for the Solar Shields. Just the Solar Shield capabilities of breaking and the Unstoppables, being able to stop 2 Unstoppables from one shot off the Devil's Ruin. That worked out really good. So there's loads of different loadouts. Obviously, Witherhoard Bow Linear. That's like the most efficient setup. So there's lots of different loadouts you can use. What my goal here is to take out this goblin, right? This is really difficult because the goblin shields the knight spams you with fire, and the overlord can be enraged because you might throw a nade and the overlord isn't stunned, because your goal is to get the knight down, not the overlord, because you can't consistently stun that overlord while there's a knight spamming fire at you. This is why we run solar resistance, by the way. We run the solar resistance because of the solar damage. That's the biggest threat in this whole GM is knights. Okay, the knight's on the stairs. I wasn't sure where he was, but the knight actually pushed up. One of the rockets didn't hit the knight, so I didn't break his shield because I think the void rocket maybe hit him and the solar one didn't. One of the two. So this knight was proven difficult for me, but don't let it bother you. Don't be discouraged by it, because that's where you get your deaths, where it's like, oh, this knight's, you know, really annoying me, and then you overcommit to damage. It's like you overcommit and then you end up wiping. But what we using here is osmosis on the pulse. Now, I didn't really need osmosis in this. It turned out that I didn't really need it, but I put it on just in case I did, because it'd be a good idea. You know, you throw your nade, you maybe haven't got a heavy, so you've at least got something to break them solar shields. You know, and you don't need a good pulse rifle for this because the bow's doing all the work. This pulse rifle is actually really good. Even the fact this one hasn't got any damage stuff on it. It's just feeding frenzy osmosis. It still works out. I like it. It's a really good pulse. We're just making sure we get this Solar Knight. I believe he isn't quite took out, I don't think. This overload's still... Actually, the Solar Knight is dead, I believe. But this overload was enraged. The reason why he was enraged for so long, if you weren't sure, is because I'd burned him with the nade previously, and because the burn damage on Dawn Chorus on targets lasts for so long, it lasts so long that if you melee a target, you get your melee back in the same amount of time. So it lasts so long, but what it was is it was continually doing damage to the champ without him being overloaded. So he's enraged, so it was no good. So when that happens is you wait behind cover, you reset the champ. We take the champion from the bottom of the stairs. I've already explained in the previous run why I do that. Don't do it on the top of the stairs, do it at the bottom. The difference between the two makes a difference overall. Spawn kill this knight as quickly as you can. I do a solar nade and then I do two-tailed fox. If you spawn kill like that, you've just made that bit a hell of a lot easier, because the longer the time goes on for that, the harder it is to take the Solar Knight, because the goblins will make them immune. The goblins will hide behind the knight as well, making them difficult to shoot Like, you can't do much sustained fire because you've got to peek shoot left and right of that pillar, so it's difficult. But if you spawn kill them, it isn't. And if you've got a setup on to do that, then do it. Don't be I wouldn't recommend popping a super on the Solar Knight though, just for that one. If you really needed to and you really are struggling, you could do that, because the super will penetrate an immunity tether from a taken goblin. Supers penetrate stuff like that. Like, well, that's why Well of Radiance penetrates stuff like that. Bubble doesn't. Bubble's different. That's why on the Prophecy Dungeon, Echo Phalanx. That's why it's easy on a Warlock, because Well of Radiance overrides immune damage, and the bubble doesn't as much. So we're just waiting for this Void Shielded Wizard to reveal himself. Once he does, we'll use a rocket, which does half damage. I was very surprised on GM that Two-Tailed Fox done that much damage. And then we pop a super, because we want to start building on heavy, and we don't really need our super for quite a bit. So I break the shield, then use super, and that deals with the wizard. Okay, so we're down to one rocket. This is where the rocket scavenger would have helped me out a lot. I would have had a lot more heavy than I did, but it is what it is. Not too bad. You know, it's still fine. We'll go back for any heavy bricks that are still lie left. We'll use shoot to loot just to increase, just to show you how it works as well. Now shoot to loot. Now if you use a shoot to loot dragonfly bow, dragonfly procs shoot to loot. So if an ad dies to the dragonfly, then that will pick up any ammo that's killed by that ad. The problem that I have with a dragonfly bow is it's not as good as a frenzy bow or an explosive head bow. Right? Now, you can't get explosive head on Wolftone draw. So, objectively, what is the best roll on the bow? This arc bow. It is shoot to loot, frenzy. I don't know about the strings and stuff, because I haven't looked into great detail about bows and what. I believe accuracy is the best stat on the bow, but I don't know. Someone out there might be an expert on bows, like the strings. If anyone knows about it, let me know. What's the best strings on these bows? But I think accuracy is the best stat on a bow. Like, not just the draw time is as well. Draw time and accuracy, those are the two best stats, I believe. But I haven't looked into it and tested all the strings, because the stat distributions between all the strings are very similar from what I see. But again, it's just, it doesn't matter so much. Like, as long as you've got like the perks you need, like explosive head or frenzy or whatever it is on that bow, then for the most part it's a 9 out of 10 roll that you can use, and it's not so bad. This overload, we aggroed him by pushing the sound to the right side of the room. Sometimes the overload's already aggroed, which means he's going to try and snipe you. Just obviously be looking there, multitasking, looking to see if our champion's there while fighting the sounds. Once he approaches though, you need to overload him instantly and then push back, retreat, and then focus the champ. Then we'll do a soul nade right there and then hide. Because what it is, when you nade enemies and then hide, the enemy doesn't strafe out of your nade. That's why you'll see some of the best PvE players for Voidwalker. I'm sure you know the guy I'm on about. That's why he's one of the best Voidwalker mains, because he knows exactly how to play that class. And he'll nade the bunch of ads, and then he'll know when to exactly hide and then when to peek shoot and all that stuff. So knowing that little simple fact means that you're letting the grenade do the work, not you, the player. Well, you are doing work by moving and when to peek and when not to peek, but for the most part you're letting your abilities do the work. This is the next place to take this overload champion. I wouldn't recommend doing it on the stairs, because he could double snipe you. There's no cover. You're sort of stuck on them stairs, and the overload acts weird and where he strafes to. So if you stand on here, the overload is really easy to sort of handle. You just strafe shoot and he's overloaded. There is heavy dropping for us, so we're good. We're getting back to our maximum capacity, but we're not using any rockets on the champs. No need to that way, because we're not speed running this GM. It's more of a novelty run, just to say this is what a two-tailed fox solo GM sort of looks like. That's all it is really. But it will show you some extra tips on the blights, especially for the boss fight. So how to really optimize this, and not optimize it, but safe proof it. Safe proof it so that if you fail, you can keep going over and over again. Which I've done the run with Fawn the other day. Right, we've done the run with Fawn. Why do we do that? Well, because we can do the roof exploit and take down the Blight from up top. Which means we jump up there in advance. We're not jumping up there while we're getting chased by a boss. There's a big difference. We'll stand up here, we use a solar nade, and then we'll have our Osmosis Pulse equipped. Just to make sure if the Knight does de-aggro in the Blight, at least we can re-break his shield and we don't have to wait for a nade. But he will push out for you, because he wants to do his Solar Flames, so that's good. Take down the Solar Knight first, then we can jump down, and then what we want to do is prep the Blight. So this is so important that you do this, because if you don't, you're going to waste about 10 minutes of your life trying to take out this Blight. So what I would suggest is, get the Blight one shot. Now, if you're looking at the Blight, the shape of it, right, you can see the orb, right, how big it is. And generally, over time, it reduces. You can see it's getting smaller and smaller. But you really need to look at the orb, say, right, how much damage can I do now safely without breaking the Blight? Because if you break the Blight, you're going to have to make this jump in one go. Okay, and some people can't do that. I couldn't today. I was terrible. My jumping's been horrendous this week. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just tired and stuff. But get the Blight orb. See the middle orb? Get it as weak as you can. See, I looked at that there and I was thinking, can I do another shot? I've done one more and the orb's literally one shot. So, if you're not confident, just use your bow one shot at a time. Don't be using a pulse. And don't use any burn damage like your solar grenade or your melee yet. You need to just do your damage with your bow and then you can start doing your jumps. So there's two ways of getting up here, and I'm sort of glad in a sense that I showed you the other way, because on the last video I showed you the way I'm trying to do now. It's a difficult jump to make. And it's finicky. It's not something that's difficult, it's more finicky, because you need to get your character to mantle that girder, whatever it is, at a certain angle. You need to mantle it, then you need to jump on top of the roof. Now this is way more difficult if a boss is chasing you, because you need to be on point. See, like there, I thought he's going to mantle there and he didn't. And then when you miss your jump, if you're on this class, which I highly recommend it, Phoenix Dive, because you'll take fall damage and you could die. I'm sure you've seen those videos where people just die by tripping on a step in GMs, because the reason why all that stuff happens is because fall damage, there's a thing called fall damage in this game, physics. Well, that's actually increased in GMs. That's why your Sparrow, things like that. A Sparrow has, you take more damage to Sparrows in GMs. Like, enemies do more damage to your Sparrow, so it's more likely to blow up. Whereas in Patrol, you'll notice your Sparrow takes less damage. So that's the reason, because GMs, they improve physics damage and things like that against you, so you can easily die. So that's why I do the Phoenix Dive. My jumps here are terrible, so I do apologise for it. I would just skip slightly forward if you need to. But don't skip the next bit if you want to see how to jump up here. Because there's two ways of doing it. So I'm going to jump up here instead and then mantle this rock. It's finicky. It's also finicky to do, but it's kind of good I went this subclass because there's a get out clause, which means if you miss your jump, just Phoenix down to the bottom and try again and try again. So you've got all day to practice it. But the top tip to making this jump, the way I'm going to do it now, is go to the outer skirt of this ledge. You must be really on the outer skirt, and when you jump up, you need to look up and get the mantle, like so. Then you need to jump outwards and then over onto the roof. There's an invisible wall. If you hit the invisible wall, then that's how you fall down, essentially. You'll get Journal Eyes. Make sure you run to this ledge before you get Journal Eyes to end, because you'll just teleport down below. Then you can use a Solar Nade. If it takes 2 Solar Nades, 3 Solar Nades, whatever it does, then that's fine. You just need to pop healing rifts, because you should have Bomber on. Like on a Warlock, I highly recommend using a Solar class piece with Bomber. When you pop your rift, you get grenade energy, so you can spam up your nade. And we've got a high grenade discipline stat on this setup. So it means we can, as I said, take the Blight up from here. We get the boss to spawn in, so we can do safe damage from here. But for the most part, we just use our bow, we use our rockets. There's some dodgy rockets or some unlucky rockets. where the rockets were missing him, or he would teleport as I rocketed, things like that. I'm not 100% on his pattern. His patterns are a bit more unpredictable when you're up here. Sometimes he'll go out of angle for you to shoot him. So it's a little bit different. So I did miss a couple of rockets. But we can farm enemies for heavies and stuff like that. Now one of the Solar Knights was tracking me throughout this. So it's funny because on my previous run this didn't happen. But sometimes it can happen. If that happens, you won't get all knights aggroed on you because there's like 4 knights in total, I think, spawn 4 or 5. You'll only ever get one that's a bit of an issue to you. And what it is, these knights will track your last location. So you need to rotate. Like, look, I'm getting hit by the solar damage. Solar resistance helping out massively. I haven't even got prick of light going right there. And you can see I stood in that solar pool for about 1.5 seconds, which is quite a long time to stand in that, because I know they can just mount you pretty quick. So you need to rotate across this ledge. Okay, it's not just one little bit of a map to stand on. You've got quite a lot of room. So as soon as as soon as that knight does solar, then you need to move. Also track where the knight is. You can use your solar nade as well to take out adds. I was unlucky on this run because they didn't drop me any heavy. There was some heavy, I believe, but it was out of my reach to use shooter loot. I was wanting to use the shooter loot bow, and it was a shame because I didn't get to use it as good as I wanted to. I was wanting some of those that to drop me bricks so I could use a bit more heavy on the boss, but it didn't happen. So obviously I could shoot the ammo from up top to get the heavy, and I don't need to go down there for it. But it didn't pan out that way, but that's fine. You can optimize using super for damage. You could use your grenade every now and then. I'm going to try and take out that Solar Knight because he's been a bit of an issue. We'll use our last rocket as well, which the burn damage is, you can see the burn damage numbers, the 198. That's Dawn Chorus. That's Dawn Chorus working with the two-tailed fox. So now that Solar Knight is he's out of the picture, it's just me and the boss now, so that's going to help things. Plus I took out all the ads, but as I said, it wasn't... I would say the biggest take from that is I'm getting super energy at the veil is because your super does massive damage to this boss. The only thing is about this exploit is if you jump up, there's a hidden wall above you. That's why I was frightened of using two-tailed fox a little bit, because if you jump up and try and do a rocket, the rocket might hit the hidden wall above your head and then it will kill you. So when you're rocketing, I would recommend not to jump, just stand. And another thing is the tracking. You might hit the ledge in front of you. So I was a bit careful about that. Boss is nearly half HP. Eventually he'll go to his... Well, right now he can tether us. He's in his tether phase now. So he's doing a tether now. You can actually get hit by that tether. Which it didn't happen. But it just depends on how far the tether hits. Like how close it is to you. But it can hit you from here. Just if that happens, don't jump. Because you're suppressed jump-wise. So if you're in mid-air jumping up here and he tethers you, you might fall to the bottom. So don't be jumping up too much. Just try and boots on the ground, do damage. If the boss is out of sight, he will eventually aggro your position and then fire at you. You can die up here as well. The boss can actually do a lot of damage to you. So just always be keeping an eye on your HP, because it's safe but not like 100% foolproof. You can still die, so you just need to be careful. You can see there's two Solar Knights left and right, top, left, right. They're not aggroed at all because I'm too far away out of those knights, right, for them to do any fire damage or any void blast damage, so we're good that way. The boss is below a third, so this isn't much long left to this run. The Nightfall Adept weapons this week are Hung Jury Adept and Hothead. Two of some of the best weapons in the game. So it's a good week to be doing Lake of Shadows. For sure for this week. Because you want to find a good hothead with a field prep explosive light is the best roll. Our field prep's a little bit more useful than tracking, but I think you get tracking on it anyways, so you can swap out between field prep and tracking. And explosive light's amazing, as we know. With the hung jury, you want an explosive head, explosive payload scout from that. There are other rolls and damage things that you can get on it, but ultimately you want rapid hit, explosive head on the hung jury, because as I said, they're definitely going to include hand cannon and scout next season. So, and even if they don't, the season after that they definitely will. They'll involve scouts somewhere because they've just buffed them. So they want us to use them at some point, lest they wouldn't buff them. Boss is literally 20% HP, not much left. This was slowed down by the fact I couldn't get any heavy bricks from up here, and a couple of rockets that I missed on him. So that was a little bit of a shame, but it's still showing you an easy clear on this. But anyways, that was the solo Grandmaster on this on Bottom Tree Dawnblade with the exotic rocket, the two-tailed fox. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.